What I'd like to do now is just make some simple summary statements of our whole discussion, and then leave some time for some questions if there are any. As we prepare to receive the text, we looked at some of them, and we could be here forever if we looked at every single change in the Mass. You know, we'd be here until the first Sunday of Advent, probably, you know. But as we looked at some of them, I hope you got a flavor of some of the changes. It's helpful to keep in mind a certain number of things. First, the new text will be used in many different English-speaking countries. Therefore, the language will not bear the cultural stamp or preference of one particular country. This calls for a certain openness on the part of all of us to use words that may be understood but may not be part of our particular language where we might be at this time. Second, since we use the language of liturgy to address God, and since it's we who are speaking, the language should be intelligible, but this does not mean that every word has to be part of our active vocabulary or the active vocabulary of everyone in the congregation. Third, in liturgy we should use a noble language that not only lifts us up, but also honors God by its dignified speech. From the earliest Latin texts coming from the 4th century, the style of language used in the liturgy of the Roman Rite always differed from street language. In the new translation, the noble, heightened style of prayer will certainly be a gain for all. Fourth, when we receive the new Roman Missal for the English-speaking world, we will have a work that is aimed at an exact, I make this clear, but not slavishly literal translation. If I could step aside, working on ISIL, we were very literal, and we followed with great obedience what the Holy See had said. Even at times when the translations to us, as we proposed them, didn't make much sense because they were too literal. And when they went to Rome, Rome changed them. And Rome said you don't have to be slavishly literal. So the translations, even though they follow formal equivalency, are not slavishly literal. Fifth point, the new Missal will provide prayers that are theologically accurate in expression and happily free from all ideological influences. And thus the sacred mysteries of salvation and the indefectible faith of the Church can be efficaciously transmitted through the liturgy. Sixth, when we put in use this new Missal for all English-speaking countries, we will reaffirm in a tangible way the breadth of our Catholic identity. Another interesting aside, somebody asked about other language groups at the break. Did the Spanish have the same process as putting out a Spanish missal as the English? No, not really. So you have a Mexican missal, you have a Colombian missal. You know the Latino mentality. You know, it's very hard to get them organized together, right? The English are more organized, you know. The Vatican would have liked to have one Spanish missal for all Spanish-speaking people, but it never came about. And the Holy See has been particularly attentive to the English missal. You know why? English is the new Latin. And there are many other languages and small language groups around the world where the new missal will have to be translated, and the new missal will not be translated to those languages from the Latin. There's no scholars in some of those places, but they do know English. And so that's why the Holy See has been much more careful with the English, and I think to our benefit. But that's just a little bit of useless information. Okay. Last, the seventh point. The new Missal will come as a result of years of growth and understanding. It will improve our liturgical prayer. But let's face it, it's not going to be perfect. Perfection will come when the liturgy on earth gives way to that of heaven, when all the saints praise God in one voice. And in conclusion, it is important to say this. that this is a moment of organic growth within the liturgical movement of the Church. While individuals will inevitably differ in their judgment on the quality of a particular word or phrase, there is no dissent on the vital importance that these texts have in the life of the Church. During these time of preparation, as we await the new translation, we have a moment to enter into a fresh appreciation of the Roman Rite. As John Paul II said on the 25th anniversary of Sacrosanctum Concilium, the time has come to renew the same spirit which inspired the Church when she issued that decree. Now is the time, a moment to sink our roots deeper into the soil of tradition handed to us in the liturgy. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop Serratelli, for sharing your wisdom and your background with us.